It's a very important theme that how can we ride a motorbike if we have a passenger, because his or her weight is absolutely changing the whole center of gravity and the whole behavior of the motorbike. So it's really important to know a lot of things detail about this theme. My daughter Hannah is going to help us today, so let's speak from the very beginning how the passenger is getting on the board of the bike. In our riding technique series, we would like to show you smaller and more important things related to motorbike riding, which are all going to make your everyday rider's life easier and safer. It's very important always to clear from which side the passenger is going to arrive, because if you are ready that let's say she is coming from the left, you keep your left leg absolutely tight, and she is coming from the right and putting all of her body weight on the right side passenger foot peg, then you can easily fall to your right side with the whole motorbike. So always start with the communication.
Can I come?
Yes, please. And then she is stepping on the foot peg, catching the shoulders of the rider and simply stepping over the seat and sitting down, and we are already ready to ride. We don't show you in details, but the getting down is absolutely the opposite movement line than it was the getting up on the motorbike. So standing up, catching the shoulders, stepping down, and finally the left foot is taken away from the left foot peg. It's very important that still before starting we have to know the weight of the passenger and change the rear suspension's preload in this way that when she is behind us, then the height of the rear section of the motorbike has to be more or less in the same height than we are alone on the bike. So we have to bring a little bit more preload to the rear suspension, depending on the weight of the passenger, of course. Let's speak about the passenger's body position while riding. It's extremely important. If we have a passenger who is new in riding a motorbike, or if we haven't ride with, let's say, her before, then before riding, speak about all the detailed things. How she has to sit, how she has to keep herself, her body, and everything else. It's also very important that the passenger is not, let's say, dead weight behind us, because she has to take care, and if it's he, of course, the same, has to take care about the whole surroundings. So she has to see the road, a curve is coming. It's a hard traffic, maybe we will have to make an emergency braking, and she has to be ready for all the behaviors she has to take. It's extremely important how she is keeping her body weight. The number one keeping point is the legs. She has to have a body contact with our body here at our hip, and keep the biggest part of her body's movings with her legs, just on the same way as we do it with the fuel tank. Of course, she can also use her hands. It's possible to keep the body of the rider. It's possible to keep herself behind her with the motorbike, and if we have a sportier bike, of course she can use the fuel tank as well. So it's depending very much on the physical parameters of the motorbike, the rider, and the passenger. That's why there are no absolutely fixed rules. The only main thing that have to be sure that the passenger is able to keep the moving of her body or his body, because anyhow we are fixing our body on the fuel tank. If her weight is coming from behind, let's say at an emergency braking, then at the end we will have to keep ourselves on the handlebar, which is absolutely forbidden. It's also very important how the passenger is keeping the whole body of his or her, and in this point it can be a very big help that where she is watching. Of course, while riding, while we have some boring part on the tour, she can watch much more around the surroundings, hills, castles, anything, than the rider who is driving the motorbike. But it's also important that she always has to watch ahead. That's why I was speaking earlier. But on which side she is looking out is not absolutely the same. Of course, while we are riding in a straight, she can watch on the right and on the left side as well. It's no problem because it doesn't make any difference. But it's very important that when she's moving her head together with the helmet, then it has to be relatively slow moving, not direct like this, because moving like this can disturb the behavior of the whole motorbike, even in straight. So that's why it's important that the passenger is moving her head slow. And of course, while we are inside the curve, then she is watching always in the inside direction, because she can see much more from the curve, so it's bigger fun for her. And of course, then her head and this weight is also in the inside, which is good for the whole motorbike. And if the passenger is not extremely practiced and we haven't ridden together with, let's say, her a lot before, then it's a very useful thing that, for example, when we are making something unweighted, an emergency avoiding, or we are just making a very tight curve, turning in a street, or just riding on a serpentine and we make a very tight U-curve, and she doesn't really know how we are going to act with our body, then in these cases it's really important that she is moving together with us. And then in these cases it can help a lot if for that short time period she is watching the back of our helmet and keeping our body with her hands, because then our bodies are going to move absolutely surely together and she is not doing something unexpected by us. Of course, when a couple is getting well practiced together, then this thing, watching the back of the rider's helmet, is not necessary anymore. And we have to speak one more sentence about a very important things. Always there are guys who are writing that I took a girl and she was not practiced in riding a motorbike and she was moving in the opposite direction as I was expecting, and that's why we fell with the motorbike, fell down off the road and things like this. This is absolutely not true, because if the passenger is moving absolutely on the bad way and the bike doesn't want to turn on that amount as we expect from it, then what can we do, or what we have to do? Simply push a little bit more on the inside handlebar, and then the bike is going to lean down. It's going to go just where the rider is wanting. So the bike is always riding in that direction where a well-trained and well behaving rider wants, and not where the passenger wants. If you liked our film, please push a thumb up. In the description under the video you can donate our work. If you do it, we send all of our films to you before their publicity. If you haven't done it yet, please subscribe for our channels, and please watch our previous films and reviews as well. Thanks a lot for your kind attention.